Hi friends, let's take a quick look at a few different altcoins. How about we take a look at Lend and Band and Algo. The reasons for that being that people have asked for Lend recently, they've asked for Algo, whatever, they've asked for a bunch of stuff. So I do read your comments, I really do appreciate it when you leave them and you ask me to do these things. So I'm going to take a look at a few coins since they've been asked for recently. If we could get that up to 1.2, that would be awesome. And if you'd be a part of that story, that'd be amazing. Even if we could get it higher, imagine we could get it up to 1.22 thousand subscribers. Wouldn't that be amazing? Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in and I really do appreciate it. Let's take a look at the charts together. And I was just trying to figure out how to get this Fibonacci drawn in here because I'm going to have to find a low over here. If I just extend this out a wee bit, you can see because of the way the charts are that the price action down at these areas is so far away that it's hard to get it all to line up. So if we call it 29 Satoshis and scroll over to the right and catch this and stick it in there at 29 Satoshis. So that was 29, we call the low at there. And then take the top end up towards, and we'll call that also say that it was drawn in on a wick, shall we? We just say that it was. And we'll draw the top line in here at this wick top area here. Where have we come from in terms of the prices? So just making it fit back on the screen, you can see quite clearly that we've come down to the 50% area and we want to see 2000 obviously hold up for us. Now we're a ways above that at the moment, having moved right as far back up as the 382, but we've just touched that, we've just touched that today's price action and we're bound between the two of them. So speculating about this at the minute, if you were to be looking at it from a point of view of if we do not manage to close up above 2,600 and we see the prices sink back down towards the 2,200 area, then we could indeed be looking down towards 1,500 or 1,000, in that 1,500 zone, we'll call it, between 1,500 and 1,600, where the golden pocket resides, between 1,475 and that. So that's what we could be looking at. Does this story apply so well on the dollar pairing? Well, it's slightly different here because the dollar pairing didn't suffer quite as much as a result of the price action. The dollar pairing was relatively more stable than the Bitcoin one during the Bitcoin pump, although it did drop in price. And if we look over towards the Bitcoin dominance chart, by the way, I'll be putting chapters in this video so you can skip to the bits you want to see. You can see here that the prices diminished all the way down, or the Bitcoin dominance chart fell all the way down to lows of 61.58. When we're down there at the really low 60s, it's kind of where you could expect to see a spike back up the way again or so. At least certainly that's where we've had support in the past. Moving down past this area could be very good or very bad for the alts. It really depends, because this is, as much as it is a measure of Bitcoin's dominance, it's a measure sometimes of the money flow between the alts and the Bitcoin pairing. If you consider the fact that little things happened, like how the prices here went up of Bitcoin over the last couple of days on that FOMO coaster, and then dropped back down a wee bit to where they are right now, which is at 10,918. So we're down a chunk from where we were, down $500. That all is represented here in the dominance chart as we look back over towards some altcoins and see that this suffered a bit during the rise of the Bitcoin price, and it's gone up a bit, but it's kind of like the money came out. It's kind of like the money came out of these things. It went into the Bitcoin one, and then that compounds the effect on the Bitcoin pairing because, of course, it's measured against Bitcoin. So let's take a look at the dollar one and draw in a Fibonacci as well, kind of just real quick from that low down there up to the high. So just do it from this low here up to the high. Then the 236 comes in there at $3. Is that right? Or 30 cents? Sorry, 30 cents. Oh, $3. You're probably laughing. We went down past the 382, came down to the 50%, and then moved up again. And we're above the 382 over here in the dollar pairing by virtue of the fact, of course, partly that because this is because of the dynamics we were discussing before with the dollar and Bitcoin dynamic, right? So then we've come down here. If we draw it in body to body instead, because it's like it's as much of a muchness down at the bottom end there. But if we draw it in body to body, then it looks like we came down past the 236 and have found support at the sort of the second shallowest retrace area for us to then continue towards the top side. So there are targets towards the downside. I would say 20 cents and then 15 cents here versus the dollar coins, and 20 or 2,000 Satoshis and 15. So it's the same. The prices are working out a little bit similar enough. It's always nice when Bitcoin's in around 10 grand that you can kind of just call these things cents and see the similarity. But moving back up above 2,583 on this chart would be the start of the positive, but we want to see it moving back above 3,200 600. And in terms of the dollar prices, we want to see it moving back up above 28 cents. So of course, there'll be question marks about the various different levels. Are we taking one out or are we not? Looking between the two. If I draw this in actually body to body, you'll see the same sort of chat. It's closer actually, 3,000 there, 29,000, and look here, 28,000. So they're kind of closer, but we're looking if we can get up to that 3,000 Satoshis or whatever that is, and 30 cents, then things are looking pretty good. Right, great, groovy-tastic, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. How is the things looking then in terms of the lower time frames and how we've come in here, looking at this low versus this low on the 4-hour time frame? I'm not going to go through them all in detail, but just is there any bearish or bullish divergence? No, there isn't. Is there hidden bearish divergence? Well, no. There is a little bit of hidden bearish divergence there on the RSI. It's not super duper, but whatever. Looking down to the 1-hour time frame, and did we get some? Yeah, we'll have had a little bit of the bullish divergence here in the stochastics, which has been doing quite well for us looking recently at these things. Right here at the end of this downward trend, which then has turned towards the top one. The targets before, though, are the ones that we're talking about. It's all going to work out the same. It ties together when we start doing the divergent stuff, generally speaking. And if it doesn't, it'll point something else out. The targets are going to stay the same as we're looking towards moving towards the top side. If we do move up towards the top side, then we're going to come into this bullish control zone area. We might start to be looking a bit oversold in terms of the 1-hour time frame. So I'd expect some sort of volatility in around these areas if we get some, or else to push on past it. Same sort of chat here, is it? Yes. Let me just look down the time frames and see 1 hour. Expect a little bit of this. Yeah, of course, it was a bit bullishly divergent. Looking good there as we came down towards this area, then up towards the top side. We've not seen the full of all of this play out yet. I would have said just looking at it, but it really does depend if we're able to stay above the neutral line here at 50 and the neutral line here in the stochastics on these ones. That's what I'd be looking for there. I think now we can move on to band. Let's take a look at band and see if there's any differences really with the overall chat of this one. Looking at those lower time frames, coming down to these areas, just down to this low here, looking back the way, you can see we had a bit of bullish divergence there. We've moved towards the top side. We'll draw out the targets and risk management lines in a moment or two, I suppose, on this one. Just go up towards the 4-hour and see that kind of disappear maybe. No, it was there, just sort of kind of became class B there, and then go up towards the daily and see that, that you can't see anything yet on this one. Have to hope for the stochastics to get caught there, the RSI get caught at these areas. Same sort of sentiment kind of around the picture on this one. Had a very good move towards the top side, as you can see, very much parabolic move towards the top side. Lend as well is even better looking perhaps in some ways, as you can see looking down here. Actually, you can't because it's behind my head, but looking at it versus the dollar pricing, we've had 1,000% rise over the period of a year on that one. On band, 1,130. So band's the winner, I suppose, over the period of a year, but that's massive gains. Let's just do a quick Fibonacci. On this one here, we're going to draw in from so this was our high in this run up here. Highs, lows, highs, lows, highs, lows. This was our high. Then we came in and we set in a low, and then we moved towards the top side thereafter. And I want to see, and also this is where you can see that we had the turnarounds on the stochastics and the RSI and stuff like that down below, which is what I was just looking at there now as well. So there's a few reasons for that. There's the wick, drawing it in wick to wick on this one here. You can see we've come back up and touched that. So $4.20 is the area. $4.20 if you want to get high, or down here 50%, looking at the 50 if you want to not get high anymore, right? So that's why, so code words there for the meme generation. If we're looking above these areas, bullish, very bullish, much so, potential downward movements then at 3, which could take us down to 245 for a golden pocket area on that one. That's what we'll kind of wrap that up with there, and we'll do the same thing over here on this one, looking at it and saying, I want to draw in from just there to make this assessment, given this was like the last inflection point really before we trended anywhere. And then here we are. We came right away down towards the 618 on this one. So should we see the 618 having offered us up once and twice in terms of being support over the last couple of days? Will we see this move towards the top side now, having gone past the 50%? Well, clearly the areas to be looking out for that 40k area, 40k, better at the 3 382, the 46k up at the 236, which will give us the same sort of story that we're looking for here in terms of moving past it, kind of getting it invalidated and coming up to where the closes were on our previous highs. This is kind of looking at the difference between where the wick is and the body is. As you can see, they're lower down there, closer towards the 236. So going up past those and closing up above this area could be very good for a couple of reasons at once. Pardon me. So yeah, cool. Okay. There was a bit of the old bearish divergence there on the stochastics on the run up to this. So there's, again, the stochastics doing us a decent enough job of showing us when there's a potential for something happening here on these altcoins over the last wee while. Something to maybe bear in mind. Do we need to look at anything else on this one? I think we've kind of done pretty good. We've got the targets, as you can see now, 46k, 39 BANDUSD, sort of 42k. Again, previous highs, then $5. $5. What did I say before? Yeah, 420. Sorry, the 420 area. Of course, then I suppose then another 10% up from there, and in the middle line here, we saw a lot of this chat on the go here. I'd also be aware of that. There, another 10%. So we're talking about 460 area, then thereafter to 480, and then up to the 525 actually, I suppose you could look at. So good, okay, cool. No hidden bearish divergence as part of this downward trend in this chunk here, which is good to see between these two highs. So that's good to see. So there's not extra. So that's cool. Okay, so that's band done. Now let's move on to Algo, and we'll do the same thing here. As you can see, I've already got some Fibonaccios drawn on this one as well. This is Algo versus USD, and this is versus the Bitcoin. So clearly I've looked at this one in the recent enough past. But okay, let's look on down the way then and see, did we come in with any sorts of divergences here towards the end of this trend? Looking down at the 1 hour time frame on the RSI, it looks like we managed to come down here without it. So there you go. My accent's from Edinburgh, by the way, if you're wondering. People ask me quite frequently where I'm from, Edinburgh, Scotland. If you're looking down here as well, then we managed to do it without any divergence between these two. But this is really the last low, and where was that at? So if we kind of make these comparisons instead, yeah, well, obviously between this low and the lowest low here, you can say that it's not divergent. Between this low and then the lowest low here, you could say that it's not divergent. But between this previous low here and then that low, you could say it is. So let's just kind of make the comparison instead on the 4 hour time frames and see, well, this is the low here that we just had in at the end. And if we just draw, this is it just managed to avoid getting it to be divergent on the RSI, whereas we saw it being divergent here on the stochastics, and not on the DMI. Well, the stochastics again kind of being a wee bit more interesting for us in terms of that one just now, just in terms of the way this is working, not forever and ever, just in terms of being kind of looking at this one. I want to see if this goes up above the neutral line here. This is the 4 hour time frame, and manages to stay above the neutral line here and come in for a cross here. That would be good as well. And the DMI down below the yellow line moving up above the pink would be very good to see if this was to turn around. Okay, we've come up above the 236. I must have drawn this in really recently, and then kind of just forgotten that I'd done it. Mental. So we came down here, and so I suppose it's been a lot's happened in a couple of days, right? So this is checking in again. This is the USDT parent, came all the way down to 26 cents, and now we've moved towards the top side, coming in there at 382. There's this inflection period here in terms of just kind of like baby patterns and whatnot. We can look and say that there's maybe a sort of an ascending triangle on the go there, just with that, and we've broken out of it towards the top side, bringing us right in at our 382. It's the first target. If we can get above that and actually sustain it and move towards the top side, then we can look up towards the 50% area at 33, and then the 618 at 35. I think people that were trading this probably will know that 35 is an important area coming in around here where the right hand shoulder was of this potential head and shoulders. If we wanted to fail that at that given time, we would have wanted to see the prices move up beyond it. Instead, they came down towards the neckline, which is where this 50% area is, and then dropped on down, and we've come all the way down as far as that. So we know that if we get above closes up above that zone, that'll obviously be quite good for the price action there in terms of moving towards the top side. You can see how this has had a very good run up since the sort of 20 or since the 20 cents, yeah, let's call it 20 cents area on the way up to where we are now. If you want to, we can also draw in a Fibonacci retracement going from there to kind of, you know, see where the different zones were as a comparison for oh sorry, that's the wrong way around, that one. Is it this guy? Yeah, I've got one on there. Oh, what have I got on here? From the lows over here, so that was from the very lows. That was what, 9 cents I drew it in from, up to the top end here. Let's just see where the 236 came in at on this one. So going up towards the top end here, the 236 on this one came in at that 32 cent area. So moving up above 32 cents would be very, very good in terms of undoing that Fibonacci. In terms of that one, we've come down to its 382 area there, actually beyond it, because it was at 28 cents, went down to 26 and a half or so. So, you know, so we've done that aspect of things. If you were to get the shallowest one, if you were to retrace on down, by the way, that takes you into the 20 cent area, which is where I wanted to draw that Fibonacci in from as well. So that's where the 618 retracement is on that one. And now I'm going to borrow it, steal it, and move it up towards that 20 cent area where we had our last real low, like I was doing on the other charts beforehand, which was in there. And the 236 then at that point is right in at that 618 zone. So I think that kind of in terms of like, you know, the elasticity of the coin's price and movements beyond certain areas, and, you know, the psychological levels of certain areas in terms of percentage moves and nature and everything else, 35 cents is very, very clear on that one as being a very important inflection zone to be moving up for that one. So then let's take a look here, just as a shout out, by the way, those notes are old notes, so I don't actually know. So far, not a lower low in the 4 hour, perhaps oscillators reset, has potential 4 hour head and shoulders. Yeah, well, that played out in the end. Pattern failure is as good as pattern confirmation. Well, we never failed it by moving up above it. Instead, we confirmed and moved down below it. So that's what happened there on that one. We're going to look at the Bitcoin pair, and then you can see this drawn in from that inflection point there anyway, and the 236 coming in at 38. So, you know, you want to see that. We've actually come all the way down as far as the 886 in terms of this extended on movement down the way. You know, in terms of the recent price action, making the prices suffer, coming from our recent inflection lows to the highs. Looking at Band, you saw us going for a golden pocket retrace. You saw in terms of Lend that we came in for a golden for the 50% area. Did I just draw this in? Did I not do this way around on the charts? What if I just stuck it in here? Well, I suppose it'd be this one here. Yeah, it'd be that recent low that's there, and then you've got talking 618. So if these two were to follow the way of this one, then you'd be looking at much more bearishness on these ones in the near future. That's obviously up 17-20% and stuff like that today. Super good for them though. And if this one just follows along with what these are doing, then maybe it's got that bullishness in the future. But you have to look at getting beyond that 618 zone over there and all of that. First off, since this has got a bit more dynamic on the go and we stretch as far as 886, let's draw another one into the side here and say, well, where's our 236 at in terms of moving up past certain zones, and that's got to be this 28,960 satoshis level. So we're just sort of 300 satoshis shy of that at the minute, having wicked up past it earlier on today, right in here at where we came up for our high. In fact, it was right on that one. So, you know, you can see there then that movements beyond 228, you can see going up to 3.1, blah blah blah. The 618 on this comes in at the 36,000 satoshi level, which is getting in pretty close to here. It obviously depends on how the Bitcoin parent price does. If this goes bullish versus Bitcoin, well then, you know, that's obviously compounding the upside. And if Bitcoin continues to go up, if it goes very bullish versus Bitcoin, it could be in the face of the stability on the dollar parent as Bitcoin crashes down the way, or indeed it could be the dollar parent going up just at a quicker rate. So I am quite interested in the dollar parent for this one then, and those kind of targets there, where how it all lines up with the 236 and the 618 golden pocket zone for this one, in terms of kind of getting a handle on where the market's moving, where in this one here, this side of things might be a little bit more stretched out one way or the other, and kind of give you false hope, or false the opposite of hope. What's that again? Wow, really? She was like, "That's, I want to know that." Anyway, the despair. False hope or false despair. Great. Oh, that feels like a weight off my shoulders. Saying that, getting that word out there. Great. Okay. So, what is there else to say so far in this? In terms of the volume, we've had an increase in volume. Sure, we have, as prices have come down a bit on the Bitcoin pairing, but that's again a bit of the whole flight of capital. Capital flight, could be attributed towards that in a sense, or whatever. Also, there's just always a dynamic there. Is it anything to write home about? Well, nothing compared to this. And if you consider this to be was this stopping volume in the trend towards the upside? Perhaps it kind of was, and this was then, just putting in that head and shoulders, and then we come down the way. We've not seen any sort of like major volume come in yet. I would like to see that happen as part of it moving towards the top side, clearly, in terms of just this general area. That's the 4 hour time frame. I've got to the 24 hour time frame. Look at this volume again. Yeah, while it has been going up a bit, hopefully this big volume candle that we had here as part of this big drop down was enough for it to be like stopping volume. If you want to consider like this to be like stopping volume over here, on the run up the way, hopefully, I suppose, in that sense. I don't know. There's probably a million things that I'm not talking about. We've got this crossover red 24 hour time frame, the stochastics red towards the downside, move past that zone. If we have to come in and put in a low here, I would like it to do it, and be like a higher low, overall, and to start to actually trend towards the top side and to recapture the sort of the upward momentum on that. I would prefer it. Yeah. Wow, look at that on the 2-day. What a hellish 2-day wick that was, and very interesting with this thing. Just simply seeing it up here above 31 cents in terms of the USDT price is very good. So yeah, I was going to have to leave it at this. I don't want to go on too much about stuff. We we could look at this a million different ways. We have got these moving towards the downside, so we do still see a little bit more sort of downward price action. It could happen. I suppose I want to see it being caught here at the 236, and for us to be able to sort of keep a valid Fibonacci towards the top side if that's the case. And yeah, 15 minutes, just for fun. Just for fun. No, let's not do this sort of thing. Let's not go crazy on it. It's not got hidden bearish divergence in terms of this high here being lower and putting in a higher high, has it? It has slightly there on that one. So there's a little touch of the hidden bearish divergence on the 15 minutes. Very much bullishly divergent on the lows on the run down here at the end before turning around, which just makes it all the more crucial to take out our previous highs. That's all that does, is it just kind of underlines the point of what we were talking about earlier on, rather than necessarily giving us an indication of where the chart could be going, as we look at this and say that it's not necessarily there on the DMI. It's not there on the DMI, that hidden stuff. And in fact, it's looking good there. I mean, there's lots of stuff. Yeah, it's all good. Right. Yeah, cool. Bonus episode. Just wanted to introduce myself, really. I'm RockyOutcrop. I do daily technical analysis episodes for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Chainlink, and Tezos. And they're great. They're really, really great. And the channel's growing really well. And I would really love it if people then decided to subscribe to this channel and let me know about other coins that they would like to look at from time to time and to discuss them with each other. Because there's over 1,000 RockyOutcropticians in the world, and all of them are great for discussing things because they share this mentality of the FOMO-free, greed-free technical analysis where you take your time to do it right. And I really appreciate you tuning in today. Massively do. Really, really, really do. So if you choose to come back again in the future, then I'll be more than happy to have you. Just looking at this at the last second, I always do this, by the way. If you're new to the channel, you stuck through to now, then just be aware, I suppose, that in terms of these crappy little time frames, that another reason why it's important for it to take out its previous highs is because we've got this rising wedge pattern here. Failure to go up there to those areas could spell moving down to the 30-cent area again, which maybe then will catch us, and maybe we'll move towards the top area and maybe break out from this thing towards the top side, although it's, technically, statistically more likely to break towards the downside if we do. But if we did break towards the downside and did it in around about this time here, then I'd be hoping for the measured move off the back of it to still kind of let us sustain prices above the 236. I mean, the longer you look at these things, the more and more you can see as well. Obviously, just like these things, you can talk about this and say, well, if we do actually push beyond that area, just in this small term time frame, then we become into the overbought zone, blah blah turnaround. But I actually say, yes, I know, but actually, what's happening is we're going up here, we're putting in a higher high that we've managed to throw off the shackles of any potential hidden bearish divergence here, putting in moving up above the 382, and there'd be a lot of good reasons for it to be up there. And if you look up towards the 4-hour time frame, you can see that we're a million miles away from being in the so-called overbought territory, and it would just give you, more healthiness to feed up and down the charts. So what I would really do is encourage you to look across the time frames, look at your strategies that you have and how that all fits in together, kind of try and neutralize your own thoughts about things, separate yourself and your emotions from stuff, and look through at what you're doing, and you'll do really well, I'm sure of it, as trading. Yeah, and that's what we do on this channel. So that's why I want people to subscribe. That's why I'm saying all that. So youtube.com/RockyOutcrop if you want to tell your friends to join in as well. Really do appreciate it. I'll catch you in the next episode. It's been a pleasure.